Fellow Toastmasters, this is Andrew Yeung from District 89. As a speech evaluator, now that you have listened carefully, attentively, and empathetically, and collected a page of solid evidence with quality that you can base your verbal feedback on, how do we go about and organize our evaluation speech? There are multiple ways to organize your evaluation-based speech, and depending on the situation, one way can be better than others, and there's no best way of doing it. Now, here are some possible ways. Now, before we actually cover this, which I'll remind everybody at the end as well, one of the things that we need to consider is the reason why I am giving that particular evaluation speech. Primary reason is to help another fellow member to improve. In the process, of course, I will improve as well as our fellow members, the other members will improve. Yet, if we have that in mind, what we are thinking is the evaluation is about them as a speaker, not about us as the evaluator. There's a huge difference because sometimes we see it in club meetings, more frequent in speech contests. Sometimes, and then I've fallen into the trap in the past as well. If the speech evaluator focused too much on ourselves, it became our show. We are trying to do all these different things to impress the judge, impress the audience, and doing all the things that are not genuine, first of all, and not helping the speaker to become better. So with that in mind, so please think about that before you consider how do you organize our speech. Now, back to our original topic. How do we better organize our speech evaluation? There are multiple ways. The first and most common or simple way is CRC: command, recommend, and command. So you say something you like about the person's speech, and then you make a recommendation and give them a reason, and then you give another commendation, things that this person has done well, and then give them evidence. Now, you don't need a lot actually. You just need 3, because if you like every point that you cover, you explain why this was effective, why this can be more effective, and another one why this is effective. That can be a good amount of content to cover in an evaluation speech. Now, of course, if you want to cover more point, you can go command, recommend, command, recommend, command. And it is a balanced evaluation and sort of also end on a positive note when you give your final suggestion. So that's one way of doing it. The other way a second way of doing it is you bring out all the command, all the positives up front. You say, hey, that was your speech objectives, or I like particular part of your speech. And then you walk through a whole list of things that you like from that person's speech and how have they achieved that speech objectives. And then you give up to 2 to 3, say, you probably have enough time to cover 2 to 3 recommendations and give them a suggestion on how can they do it differently next time. And by the time you summarize the speech, that should be holistic, and you have just enough time to cover that particular speech. A third way that you may have seen and you may have tried before is to organize it with an acronym. So some people think of 4 words, 4 alphabet acronyms, and then divide. I like your speech because like for example, MAPS, right? Maps, a map. Right? If the person's speech is related to navigation, map, or something related to journey, that may echo with the audience, so that the audience can remember the 4 things to walk away is MAPS, and each alphabet represents something. Now, the benefit of this is obviously it leaves people with a memorable image. The disadvantage of this, though, is sometimes it's quite difficult to actually link the words that links to your point. And sometimes if it deviates too much from the original speech, that's sort of not serving that purpose. Now, of course, we are getting a little bit more creativity with that particular approach in using the acronym. Another speech evaluation approach you can consider is similar to the using acronym approach. You think of an imagery. If the person's speech, for example, is talking about, related to the mother they love, and then you can think of creating an imagery in people's head. Say if it is if they say the mother is on a walking stick, then you can base your speech on the different parts of the stick. There's the handle, there's the actual stick itself, as well as the the sort of the feet of the stick. So with that, you sort of use an analogy to mirror that to the different parts of speech. So again, that can be one way of doing it. Fifth way that you can consider doing it is build it with an even stronger structure. You allocate 30 seconds on the opening of your evaluation. And in your opening, you repeat some of the key imagery or some of the things that this person has done in the speech, as well as the speech objectives. And then you allocate another 30 seconds to give a very solid conclusion of that particular speech. And in the middle, you are very purposeful into bringing 3 to 4 logical points. And then you can organize it in a way that mirror the actual content or actual theme of the speech, so that what you are doing is you mirror the structure of the person's speech. You mirror the evaluation speech with the structure of the person's speech. Let's not limit ourselves into how do we actually do evaluation, because these are just 5 common suggestions or things that we have seen people done in the past. You can obviously still mix and match, as well as creating a evaluation style or structure that suits your particular style. Yet going back to the original message that I was trying to bring out at the front is, what is the best type of speech evaluation? The best type of how do we organize a speech evaluation is, it should serve the purpose. It should help the member to improve. If that person is a newer member, I may actually use a simpler approach in how I structure the speech, because I am speaking to the person. Whether it is a contest or club speech, the value of my evaluation would only come out if the person can understand. So instead of using all this fancy approach, I may just have a simple conversation. Of course, I'm on stage, but I'm having a conversation with the member. So I may choose a simpler approach so that the person can have some points to take away. I may use my time and effort to organize my speech in a very logical way, so that in a language, presented in the language or in the pattern that suit the person's speaking style, so that they can actually digest what I'm trying to say. If they are more advanced member, however, we can be more playful, because when you would have known them for a bit of time, as well as they can take those high-level constructive feedback that help them to be an even better speaker. In the content itself, we may be a little bit more sharpened, specifics into how can you actually change that, and sort of skip the basics or skip the obvious stuff. And in the way how we organize it, you may be able to jam into more content or be a little bit more creative in the way and draw analogy parallels with the particular speech. So to answer this simple question on how can we best organize our evaluation speech, it's worthwhile to think about who are we speaking to, who was the speaker, and mix and match with a variety of different speech style, so that going forward, we would have more structures in evaluating others in our arsenal. And no matter what type of speaker that we're evaluating, we would be as effective. Have fun.